Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for a spooky edition of Warhammer Weekly, our first year on Halloween. And joining me, as always, the one and only Clark Kent. It's Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, friends.
Tom is my. I'll accept that you're my sidekick and you're Superman because I don't. That seems pretty good to me. So I'm Batman in this scenario, I guess. That's
Batman
how that works.
Batman does beat down Superman.
I'm just saying. So, also joining us, it's Mr. Steve Herner. Hey, good to have you back on the show, buddy.
Hello, boys. Thanks for having me.
Whoa. Absolutely. And for those of you who are wondering if Steve and I have on a costume, Steve's costume, I'm guessing, is he is going as the TO of Holy Havoc, which is coming up this weekend. There it is.
You got it.
Right. And I am wearing my wife's apron instead of my normal apron. So there you go.
And I have a hat on, Vince. So there you go.
I'm really into the spirit of Halloween, as you can tell. My absolute favorite holiday. So this is the first year we've been on Halloween in 4 years that Halloween hasn't fallen on the night of the show. But here we are. So this will be the last time we have to worry about this for 7 more years, or 6 or 7 years, or however long it takes for that to come back around. But at any rate, we're going to be talking about Holy Havoc, Steve's upcoming tournament, the tournament that Tom and I are going to this weekend. We're going to talk about team tourneys in general, as it's team tourney time. There was a team tournament at Warhammer World this last weekend.
Yes,
there was indeed, which we'll talk about a little in the news, and some surprising results, shocking outcomes.
I don't know how you're going to deal with non-armies winning tournaments, Vince.
Indeed. Don't spoil it, Tom. And so also we've got, and Holy Havoc is one of my favorite events of the year, not only because I get to partner with Tom, which is actually more fun than you would think. I mean, I'm sure that you watching out there and seeing Tom's personality would wonder how it would be fun to play 5 games of Warhammer with him on the same side of the table. But I assure you, it actually is quite a good time. He's a good partner.
I think the last time you were at Havoc, didn't we have or no, that was at Holy Wars, wasn't it? Where we did a thrown together team game.
We did.
And Tom blew it on the bid. I think, right? Just pathetic. Just threw his overlords down on the table in a big pile and said, "That's deployed." And Alex and I look at them and say, "No, it's not." Just throw it there on the. He just, I mean, literally like a pile of models just sitting there on the table.
Whatever.
That's the point.
I would just like to say, now, I would have defended Tom in this, but it's not good to go against the TO at an event that you're at the night before the tournament. But I will say that does adhere to the classic elvish deployment rules that usually happen at my table, where I had a player who just kept all his like elves in a plastic bin. And when he would deploy at the beginning of the game, he would just turn the bin over and dump them on the table and be like, "There, I'm deployed. I'll scoot them around as I get going." So, you know, it's not that uncommon to me. You were better than that. But at any rate, let's start with some news. So what do we got there, Superman?
Rumor engine, baby.
Yes, indeed. A rumor engine that is 99.99% not for us, but that's okay. That's perfectly all right. So let me share up here.
You can at least hope.
You know, it's funny you mention it. So here's the rumor engine. Hopefully is that coming through okay? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was thinking about the presence of technology in the mortal realms the other day. It's kind of funny. I don't know what got me on this chain of thought. Like I was stuck traveling or something, and so couldn't sit at my desk and hobby. And I just my brain was idly wandering over the hobby. And I was thinking about, we've got the Caradron overlords who, you know, have some pretty good tech, and they have that famous piece of art that I really love of like the kind of dwarf in his skivvies going up to his suit in like the tube. Yeah.
Yep.
Great piece of art. And I thought, you know, I would like to see another technological force in AOS. Like I can be whatever. I'm not asking for like spaceships and, you know, laser guns, just, you know, something that actually focuses on technology in some way. And I could see there could be a lot of ways to trot that out, but this is clearly like some kind of 40K robot control screen, like whatever.
I'm ready for our like automaton army. Like our robot army?
Oh, for the thing they spoiled for Blackstone Fortress, that guy, like the little walker dude, the old one guardian or whatever.
I'm talking about an AOS.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. Kind of like a magic tech thing is what you mean?
Yeah, like or even like I'm thinking about like, like with Shimon.
Shimon.
Doing like a clockwork army.
Yeah. That'd be great. Absolutely. Yes. A clockwork army would be super cool.
Like thinking about like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Like steer way into it. Like really, really. There was like season 2 Doctor Who, the relaunch where they had the little clockwork robot people who were on the spaceship. Yeah. That kind of thing. I'd love to see that.
Yep.
So
a lot of potential there. That's all I'm saying.
The girl in the fireplace, I think was the name of the episode. All right. Anywho, that's not relevant. This is a backpack thingy or something because you can see the little vents. It looks like the little curve on the bottom, whatever. So, yep. Techie 40K backpack. While I'm sharing, Tom, I just want to jump right into this. You mentioned you mentioned something that reminded me of the walkers, which they spoiled today that look like the War of the Worlds walkers, the old one tech. Which that's way too sleek and smooth. That's not what I'm talking about for
Sure.
AOS. Though I was happy to see that aesthetic for 40K. I would love to see some really like sleek stuff like that show up. But they did spoil a guy for Blackstone Fortress who could saunter his way right into the mortal realms. This dude right here, smoking a pipe. He's got his sword. Like, I don't even know if there's tech on this guy anywhere that I can really see. He's got a little this is his flask. Yep. Clearly. I love a man with a flask and a saber and a pipe.
He owns it. I mean, he's confident.
This dude looks so freaking sweet. I mean, he's rocking the Free People's codpiece.
Yep.
He's like Free People General on foot. Sure. Absolutely. Like sassy witch hunter. Absolutely. Like this dude is.
Sure.
He's amazing. I love this model so much.
I'm in.
Yeah. So I was thrilled to see this dude. And this is easily a guy who you could repurpose in AOS, no problem. Right. So, yep. The only that's interesting, did you notice that the base is actually flat and that they clearly are painting the bases like they're look at the base, like actually look at it. Yep. Do you notice what's different about it? This is something that caught my attention. I know this is the minorest, dumbest thing. But if we every Warhammer base is textured. Right? Because they've gone with the idea that apparently you could just like dry brush the base and make it look like dirt, I guess, or to make paint or texture paint stick to it better, I think is the idea, or grit stick to it better or something. Like, I don't know what the point was of them doing the pebbly texture on literally every base that's been released for, 20 years. This isn't. Right. This is smooth. Right. This is the first I don't know, these little rocks. I don't know if they're part of it. Like, is this actually part of the base as well?
They slot into holes in the base.
Could be. Yeah. Like this little drop in.
Like all the starter stuff from the Soul Wars box was like that, where there were like extra holes where you would push in bits into the base.
Right. So maybe these have little holes on them. You can push in different elements too. But I need to go look at the other bases. But yeah, I caught this actually when I was loading up this picture for the show, that this is like a baby's butt smooth base, which is really interesting. You don't normally see that. So just an interesting thought that's a marked change. That means they actually made a non sort of, textured base or a non scenic base that's completely different. So there you go.
Pretty sweet.
All right. Okay. I know you have a next piece of news. I'm going to keep sharing. Because we need to talk about how this past weekend Raw happened, right?
Yep.
Our realms at war.
Yep. So we have we had some U.S. representation there.
We did.
Who actually took home the trophy?
He did. Chuck Moore took home the trophy for best costume. And I know what you're thinking. How was Chuck dressed? Chuck, TO of
Nova,
and just an all around great dude. He was the leader of the project for the U.S. tournament organizer pack, which I was happy to participate with. And Chuck famously has, more witch elves than just about anybody. He has 150 painted witch elves now. Okay.
Yep. It's true.
Big fan of the Daughters of Cain.
Yep.
So here's Chuck's costume at the event where he went as Marathi.
Just owning it.
Just owning it.
Own it. Yeah.
Stylish man. What's important to understand is that Chuck is a very fit dude. He's a ripped dude.
Mr. Stormcast Strong himself.
Absolutely, Mr. Stormcast Strong himself. So he's got the confidence, and I love it. Well done. Well done, Chuck. You brought home the gold back to us here in America, and I couldn't be more proud of what he's achieved here. So,
do you want to know the only thing I'm disappointed about this?
What could you possibly be disappointed about this?
His wig is black.
Okay.
But his Marathi model has blonde hair.
Oh.
Okay. And so
sure.
He should have painted her, or he should have went with the blonde wig and modeled after Tay.
Sure.
His hero and his own model, because the robe on his Marathi is red as well.
Sure. So anyways, congratulations to Chuck. It looked like the Raw event looked absolutely amazing this year again.
Always. Yes.
So to Steve and Jimbo and everybody involved there, it's between the terrain and the special Aethermetric, or however you say it, the Aetherme labs that everybody made, like the models, the boards, everything that people were doing was incredible. Yep. So big shout out to them. Like if you have any interest in running a super duper, all in narrative event, like they have active GMs and the way that they change stuff and play. We talked about last year's Raw where they had the entire tournament floor laid out as a city, yep. Right? I didn't see how they had it laid out this year, but like the all in thing, but the event looked incredible once again. So
they knock out of the park every time. It's one of those events that if I'm going to go over for anything, it's at the top of the list.
Sure. Because it is truly an event.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. 100%. All right. So we also, as we mentioned earlier, we also had another team tournament this last weekend.
Yes. This is the season of team tournaments, and this is at Warhammer World, right?
It was, yeah.
And it was won by the honest wargamer himself, Rob Symes, and his partner, taking dual Legion of Asgore.
Yeah, dual Chaos Dwarves.
The stunties represented.
A not real army won overall and just
a double
crushed it. Just crushed it too.
Let's talk about their kill points.
9680 out of 10,000. It's a lot of dead enemies.
You know what that is? That is a meta that is not prepared for shooting. That's exactly what that is.
I will say, and here's the question. I say out of a possible 10,000, but that's a lie. Right? Because, not just that. No, people, you didn't get credit for summoning kills. Oh. No, it's a lie because it's lower. Like, how many people spent on command points? That's 50 points you couldn't get. Or spent, or were just shy, right? Like, it didn't equal 1,000 exactly. They were at like 990 or 980, right? That happens. Sure. So, have
you seen their list yet?
Yeah, I did see their list. Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't a lot of shooting. There was shooting in there. No, I mean, what was scary?
It was a nice mixed force.
It was a nice mixed arms force. They had the things that are doing the work are the 12 pack of
Kadai.
Kadai. Like that 12 pack of Kadai at 480 points is it's brutal. It's a 5-up unrendable save. They're doing 5 attacks a model, 6 attacks a model. 3s and 4s, no Ren D3 damage. And so
they both had it.
No, one of them had that. The other had all of the the herd. Okay. So Shartor and I don't know if you guys have looked at the numbers on the Bull Centaur, the Bull Turret, the hero, the non-named hero. That dude is beat stick throwing around neg 2, neg 3 Ren 3 damage attacks. It just there's meat there, and they do lots of damage.
And they both had Demon Smiths or whatever who have an incredibly good spell.
Yep, Ash Cloud, they can penalize hit and no runs, and it's half charges.
Have you seen any photos of the army?
I have not. I'm on the Cast Dwarves Facebook group, and I was chatting with them about it. But I did not see photos. So
I know Rob shared a bunch of mid-game photos. So if you go follow like Rob on Twitter or the
I follow him. I probably just missed it.
And rumor has it that Rob is going to have his force at Adepticon this year for his Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah, he's coming over. He's trying to convince Nathan to come over too. I hope to see them both. It will be
very neat. And Rob will actually be on our show in a couple weeks to talk Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah. So a lot of people have called for this for us to talk Chaos Dwarves. It's coming. It's coming in a couple weeks.
There may or may not be a surprise announcement when Rob's on the show in a couple weeks. So tune in. It'll be
what happens. I've never talked to you about Chaos Dwarves. How do you feel about this sort of black sheep army about Chaos Dwarves? What's your feeling on it? Perhaps as yourself or as a TO or both, however you feel like answering the question.
Well, I have kind of mixed opinions on Forge World at the moment. I feel like the I don't really feel like they fit in. I think that they have a tendency to go. It feels like they have a tendency to deliberately go over the top. I wish that they were more in line with the game because I think some of the models are really great, but there are some just crazy things. Like as a TO, I'm being asked about the new dragon, and I have very mixed feelings about that. Number one, from a playability standpoint, as it turns out, the base isn't much bigger than the Dread Saurian base, and we've had players bring Dreads to my events before.
Also, an army that can teleport units anywhere on the table.
Sure.
Move around.
The reason I brought up the dragon was just like the rule with the dragon, the fact that that model can heal itself. It's just like so obnoxious to me. It just within the confines, it's 30 wounds. It's so many wounds. It's so devastating, and it can heal itself. And it's just like Forge World not really aligning themselves within the game when it comes to their rules writing. So that's kind of what bothers me. I love the fluff of what Forge World has done, like with TemerCon back in WFB days. And so I do like what the Chaos Dwarves are from a fluff standpoint. I think it's kind of cool. I always have liked it. But I just wish that Forge World would get in line and with the rest of the game, and make it so it's viable, so it doesn't feel so over the top. Like before the Mongol was FAQ'd, it was the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? It just seems like and sale all that stuff. So, but as far as we haven't had. I don't think I've ever had a Chaos Dwarf player, a Legion of Azeroth at any of our events yet. But we've had plenty of the Forge World models and their rules at the event. And as a TO, I don't like to necessarily ban anything.
Sure.
Because especially for my events, my events are supposed to be, we're the ones who brought, when it was the end times, we embraced all that craziness. So we didn't ban anything when a lot of Warhammer Fantasy events were banning Malekith and all the other stuff, So I guess I'm on the fence, man. I'm 50-50, really. I just wish they would get the rules in line.
Sure. I mean, I would love to see somebody set that thing across from me because it's an auto win.
Yeah.
Like, the second they set down that dragon, I'm like, you decided not to play this game, huh? That's cool. Like, I mean, that's an insta lose. There's no way. Like, it's 30 wounds. Sure. It's 1,200 points.
Right.
Like, as a game piece, it is an instant lose in a game based on objectives. Yeah. And on one of your tables, it's the biggest nightmare I can ever imagine. Like, there is no universe where that thing can go where it wants.
Vince couldn't move his Maw Crusher around the table.
One of the most frustrating moments of my gaming career happened on one of your tables with a Maw Crusher. Take that dragon.
Yeah.
Wait, I will drink your salty tears.
Yeah, I think Domus would agree with you on that. He had the similar experience on one of the tables with his Maw Crusher. So I mean that's the thing as a TO. Like when it comes to the dragon, you think about it, you say, okay, is that a good gaming experience on the table? But then there's the part of me that says, okay, I don't want to deny anybody anything, but I mean there are especially on the newest table, there's no way that thing's going to be able to play. So and if a player wants to spend, I mean, if somebody spends, like that's the other
piece of it. It's so expensive. I don't know how you say no to it. If they actually make the investment,
I mean, if somebody, that's the other thing. Like, so Anthony's asked me about it, and he wants to proxy in Smog as the dragon instead of, and it's like, that's typically I would allow something like that. I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. But then I can see the flip side of it, where people are like, well, if you're going to get these rules, you should, pay for the model, but it's $500 for
so Smog feels close enough. Like Smog's like 500 bones compared to 580. He's the same size, and when you figure you got to invest in a writer to put on top of Smog too, like you're gonna get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
with like a 20 times better model.
Yeah, right. And I'm not one of those. I'm just not one of those. I struggle with it because I'm not one of those TOs. So I don't like necessarily banning anything. I like players to be able to play within the confines, because we do enough with our event. We do enough damage to you at our event with the tables.
I would just make sure that they have proper expectations, Steve. And I mean, what I mean by that is, like, if somebody wanted to bring that, what I would do if I were you is just send them the map pack. And here are the boards.
Right.
And here's the measurements. You figure out, like, and what I might even do is give them like a appropriately scaled, like, base size for that,
like a little shape to move around on the map.
And I'd be like,
also imagine there's Nurgle trees and Idneth shipwrecks.
Yeah.
And
and
Sylvaneth woods.
You are welcome to bring it, but this is the play experience that you're going to have. Do you want it?
Yeah. And by the way, I know Anthony's in the chat, and I know he's one of the people who is all keen on this thing. And Anthony, I rep it completely. Anthony's one of my hobby heroes. He's a man who brought a Dread story in, even when people said they weren't good. He's brought that thing and played it. I have no problem with it. He can set that thing down against me any day. So
I like winning. So yes, you can set it down against me.
All right.
So yeah, doubles that happened. Rob and I think is it James?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I
can't remember who his partner was.
Yeah. But they did dual cast dwarves, and man, that seems like a fun team up. So
it is. It's super cool. And I love how they did make very different cast dwarf forces too.
Yes.
Right. So it was great.
Yeah. It's not like what Vince and I are going to, well, actually, I guess it is like what Vince and I are repping this weekend. So
yeah. Absolutely. Very different. Yes.
Very different armies. Yeah. So awesome. Good job, guys.
Yes. The other, and then you mentioned it, Holy Havoc is coming up this weekend. That's the subject of our discussion today.
Yep. And we'll get back to that. But yeah, we'll be talking about doubles and all the teams this weekend, or this show. And then finally, Blood and Glory is this weekend in the UK. And so I've seen a bunch of Americans that have traveled over for that this weekend. And so I know Relian and Andrea, and I think there's some more, maybe. I know Kenny's over there right now at Forge World, or at Warhammer World one Friday. Because I think it's the Black Library Weekender this weekend as well, I think.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So, a bunch of Americans over in the UK. So, good luck to Relian and Andrea.
We've just been invading in successive weeks. Like, Chuck and I were over there, and now we've sent, Brad and Kenny and everybody, Andrea and everybody. So we're just slowly on this, like, exchange program.
This is what happens when Terry and crew, everybody comes over for Adepticon, and we're like, oh, we see how it is. Your own trophies.
Well, we got to go over there. That's an exchange program. That's how it works. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Indeed.
The one quick shout out, by the by. So Chuck also played a game on stream on Wednesday, right? He played his daughters. So, and then he looked like he had a fun time. He sent a picture out recently where they gave him a bunch of Warhammer TV dice. Now, just a cotton picking minute here. All right. Now I played on the stream. Where's my dice? That's all I'm saying. What's up with that? I didn't even get to take one with me. I felt ripped off. That's all. Just throwing that out there. I'm shy a die. Okay.
Vince, that's called the Tom penalty.
Oh yeah, you stole my dice, Tom. That's what it is.
No,
I know what you mean. Yes, because I'm friends with you. You stole my dice.
Yes, being friends with me means you get punished. In the KO chat, somebody observed, I think it was Nico, observed that all three of the dwarf armies are tier 3 right now.
all things Tom likes to talk
and
about.
I was like, isn't it ironic? Those are the 3 armies that I played last year.
Yeah, well, there you go.
The Tom tax.
Yeah. All right. So obviously the big thing is Blood and Glory is coming up this weekend. Huge event, lots of different everything Warhammer related will be going on at Blood and Glory. Beyond just obviously there's a very, very big AOS event. It will be the largest AOS 2 event until CanCon happens and crushes it in January. But it's still gonna be a very, very, very big event. And I think they're nearing 200 people, something around there. It's pretty big, as well as like Underworlds and 40K and Blood Bowl and goodness sakes, everything else. And of course, most importantly, this weekend, we will have a preview show. And it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we have learned anything about anything. Yep. It's been quiet, all quiet on the Western Front. So, gentlemen, now it's time to embarrass ourselves. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. We are all now going to predict one thing that we will see. Wait, don't tell me style in the preview show this weekend. Steve, you're up first. You're the guest. You get the curse of going first. What do you expect to see this weekend? What is the preview item we see?
I don't know. Skaven? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm grasping.
Take a swing. This can be imaginary. It's okay. What do you want? Pick something.
Something rat-like would be nice. Something. Just something.
So a Skaven thing. What do you expect it to be? Go ahead. Conjure the world for me, Steve. Let's go. You're an imaginative fellow.
I don't know. I want to see. I want to see the Skaven get some love. I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them show us some improvement on some of the clans, you know, or maybe I don't know, anything. Really, anything. I mean, anything at all would be really, really nice. I mean, they did some amazing sculpts of the Skaven for Shadespire, so I would love to see some Skaven. I would love to see some rats, any kind of rats, anything at all.
All right. So I'm going to say then the preview item is the all-in Beasts of Chaos style Skaven Battle Tome plus an Eshin re-release / new Ninja Rat unit. There you go.
Yeah. I was just talking to Belle. I was talking to Belle. She was asking me about armies. I said I was retiring the rats and hats.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me about that. She said, "Really? You think you're really done with Skaven?" I said, "Yeah, until something drops." And I said, "And if it's not Eshin or something like Scryer or something more fleshed out, because I just don't dig what they did with Scryer at the moment. I want more, and I've always wanted something with Eshin, and some of those rats, assassin rats, would be really cool.
Yeah, because them ninjas is sweet.
Yep. Yeah, I would love it. I would love some rats, something cool with rats.
All right,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go safe. I think we're gonna see the Wrath and Rapture. I think we'll see the new Heralds this weekend.
New Heralds, okay. Oh, you're saying from the Wrath and Rapture box.
I think we'll actually see models from the Wrath and Rapture box. And I'm still a defender that I think we're gonna get surprised by that, and it'll be out in 2 weeks.
Sure. Like that they'll announce it and then be like, and by the way.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
do you think we're going to see all new models on that front?
I think this will be the first taste of new models.
For both factions?
Yes. Although I think that I don't think that Khorne Demons are going to get a lot. But I do think that we will get new Flesh Hounds, obviously. And I think that they'll probably initially come in the Wrath and Rapture box, and then in 6 months we'll get an individual box release for them. That's my go-to.
Okay.
And I think the same with the Heralds too. I think it'll probably be 6 months, and then we'll see them out on individual clan packs or whatever.
Okay. So my prediction is I don't know if this is, this is safe to a point, I suppose. But we are going to see we'll finally see the goblin thing, and it will not be Moon Clan, it will be the new ridiculous Shroom Clan, right? So that's Shroom Clan will be what it is, and it's going to be the mushroom infused goblinoids, like all high on shrooms. They'll have some mushroom infused monsters. They'll have different kinds of mushroom type things going on all over the place, but it's going to be the Shroom Clan. That's my predictions. There you go. That's what I think we see. And sure, yes, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we are. There's already 2 plastic squigs in the Nightfall box.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to just buy those bits a bunch, but you know, I hope amongst hope that we just see everything Slaanesh. Just dump it on us. Show me that keeper. Show me that keeper. She won't be in the Wrath and Rapture box set. I just want to see it. Just want to see it. Show it to me.
Do you think we'll get a video, a Slaanesh video?
That would be, yes, absolutely we should. Because it has that voice, like they've got that double recording voice they clearly love that speaks with both a male and female voice simultaneously. Which is unfortunate because it's kind of unsettling. It doesn't have the power that like Marathi's voice had when she was, you know, in her release video. But set it to some sweet music and I'm in. All I ask for, like, you know,
it shouldn't have the power of Marathi, the voice.
Well,
it should be more. That's kind of Marathi's was kind of scary. This should be more seductive, more.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying, give me the music. All right, what's Slaanesh's theme song? Like if Marathi had the rock music, right? Like that's what she had, right? In that initial video. What's Slaanesh's music that you set the Slaanesh? What do you set?
Closer by 9 Inch Nails. Just look up the lyrics. It's real simple.
I understand. Yeah. All right.
Great.
Tom,
that works for me.
So is any early 90s industrial acceptable, or is it just that particular song?
Just that particular song for me.
Okay, gotcha. Tom?
I don't know. how much I let me curtail that. You know how much I care about Slaanesh?
You should care about it more.
I don't. I really don't.
I have to admit something, Tom.
Yeah.
Full confession here, Vince. I was so high on the Slaanesh stuff, but then when they showed the Fiend, it ruined it for me.
Wow.
I hope I see better. That little image, I just was not. I mean, I was not impressed, and I was just kind of like, really? Okay, we'll see. So I'm not as stoked as you are.
I'm super stoked, and you should have been stoked because that little Fiend redesign. First of all, I loved it. It was light. It was graceful, elegant, weird, otherworldly. The Fiends have always been strange, but the important part, like, they've never been the really killer part of the range. But the important part about the Fiend was that it was wearing bondage gear. That's what mattered.
Yeah,
that tells me we've got our bondage gear Slaanesh coming, which is what I want.
Right.
We know.
Did you ever see Dennis Gunya's Slaanesh army from Warhammer Fantasy?
What is it?
Did you ever see it? Dennis Gunya, you know that guy?
Mm-mm.
You know him. He's a paint judge for Adepticon.
Okay.
And he did probably one of the best Slaanesh themed Warriors of Chaos. He like pulled in a bunch of different ranges, and it was I remember going to my first ever tournament and seeing that army. It was pretty awesome stuff. So I don't know if he's got pictures out there or not, but I loved that army. It was pretty cool.
Nice. All right. So everybody in the comments, you've got to pick your Slaanesh theme song. If we get it, what should the Slaanesh video theme song have in it? That's the question. How do you score Slaanesh? Hashtag scoring Slaanesh. All right.
9 Inch Nails. All the way.
Lots of options. Lots of options out there. Okay.
Maybe bad medicine.
What's that?
Maybe bad medicine.
Yeah, I don't know about bad medicine. Come on, man.
Not terrible.
Like what? I mean,
not terrible. I can like. There's lots of options.
You've seen the video for Closer, right, Vince? I mean, come on.
Yes.
Trent just hanging on the chains and spinning around.
I didn't say
come on, dude.
There's lots of potential out here, all across the spectrum. Okay, like
I mean, it's got the visual, it's got the lyric, it's got the the whole thing. I want to feel you from the inside. The whole,
I get it. That's fine.
That's what Slanesh wants to do.
I haven't seen a My Life with a Thrill Kill cult reference yet in the comments, which makes me sad because My Life to me is what I would listen to personally. But whatever. There's lots of options out there.
Toxic by Britney Spears. Oof, Ben,
also,
I don't know.
Also a solid choice. Solid choice there, Ben.
Man.
At any rate, there's clearly lots of options out there. So, there was one other important news announcement we had this last week. We're getting our box sets.
Still in the news?
Oh, still in the news. I know we're still. It's a winding news. We're getting our box sets, man. These have come the last 2 years. We had 4 2 years ago, 8 last year, and 10 this year.
You're saying of the battle.
The Battle Force.
What are we getting?
Yes.
The Battle Force boxes.
Battle Forces.
Yeah, there are going to be 10 this year, which is the big news because there were 8 last year, and I think there were only 4 the first year. And so it is big news.
So what are they?
We don't know. We know one of them is Ideneth, and it has 2 turns. What I will say is that, while that is neat news,
I hate that army. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I wanted to like it. I hate it. I hate everything about. I can't get around it. I'm like, sorry.
Don't worry. There's 4 other Battle Force boxes
a whole bunch
too,
of crap for saying it.
No,
I know I'm going to catch crap, but I just
I don't either. I want to go on record as demonstrating that I said I was not going to get into it, and Vince is like, "Oh, we'll see." And guess what? Nope. Hasn't happened.
Good for you. Good for you.
No, I'm proud of you, Tom.
Thanks. I can say no.
Yeah, it's one of the 5 AOS boxes we'll get. There's 10 total, 5 AOS, 5 40K. So I would, and if we follow form, there'll be a Stormcast focusing on the Sacrosanct. There'll be a Death focusing on the Ghosty Boys.
Night Haunt. There'll be
probably a Nurgle and probably a Daughters one.
Yep. So I want to also go on record and point out that we were right.
Oh, the terrain boxes?
Yeah. So back in September, I revived that rumor. I said, hey, I think we missed this. We didn't talk about this. This didn't come up enough. And so I re-highlighted that the terrain boxes were coming in November and that these are the images for them. And if you go back and watch that video, they were the exact images, the fake box images that they showed us. There were 2 new box sets, but the Sylvaneth, the super box of Sylvaneth Woods was in there. The ruins of Illyria or Elixia or whatever. The big city ruin set, all of those were the exact things that we talked about back on the show in September. So,
yeah, and the notably for fans of the Azerite Ruin type of thing, the 2-story Azerite Ruins are in the big collected box.
Yep,
in the big city box, so you can actually.
We don't know what a price is on that yet, do we?
No, we haven't seen the prices on anything yet. I mean, if tradition follows, the Battle Force boxes have always been honestly a really good deal, especially if you're getting them at a kind of discount.
Boxes have been 175, 180.
Yeah.
And
they were usually 30 to 40% off, depending.
And you're getting
right. I was thinking the terrain though. For me, that'd be where I'd probably want to go.
I would not be surprised if it was $100 for the box, because the Sylvaneth one is 4 Wildwoods in a box, and I wouldn't be surprised if because they already do 3 Wildwoods for 100. I wouldn't be surprised if they did 4 for 100 in here. I don't know. We'll see though. So yeah, exciting. So
cool. So I mean, they've obviously we're going to see more of that. My guess is that will be something they actually show at Blood and Glory. Why wouldn't they? Right? It's a part of it. Part of the reveal show is an advertising thing. So why not show those and what we're going to get? I mean, so I would certainly imagine they'll blow through those slides and talk about those. Yep. So I imagine we'll have that this weekend, which will be great. I don't think I'll be interested in a single one of those, but that's okay.
You're not going to do the Ruins box for basing material? It would be the ultimate basing box.
No, because you don't need that much for a base. The little box will do me for many bases. You only put centerpiece models on those Ruins, right? Or you cut them up with a Dremel, and then they go really far,
Yep.
So it's fine. I'm good. I still have some of my first box I bought, like the Azerite Ruins left. And that's after actually using them in real terrain too, and using them as base.
I've never used them in any of the tables I've done and all the terrain that I've been building and stuff. I still have yet to purchase any of those yet.
I bought like 1, 2, 3 sets, and I really like them. Like,
yeah, they're nice. They're really nice. They have like a heck of a mold line down the middle. You got to scrape.
No, I'm just saying. I think it's kind of funny that there they are and they're so useful and so versatile, and I still yet.
Right. Sure.
I mean, sure. If anybody needs them, it's me, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're a great set.
I haven't gone there yet, so it's just because I'm still trying to plow through all the stuff I already have,
right? Yep.
That I've been collecting over the years since I started doing the events. So they run around then. So
I will be interested to see what the bigger Azerite Ruin box has that has the multi-floor Azerite Ruins in it, because you can't with like the standard Azerite Ruin box, you can't build the 2-floor one without. I mean. Right. You could if you're willing to like go and really go to town on them or something, but it doesn't come with flooring sections. This comes with flooring sections.
I'm more interested to see it. I'm more interested in the new Sector Imperialis terrain box. Of the new Kill Team terrain, they have a box for that, and that looks super hot. Like, let me just say, I painted up one of those, and I love it. I love that terrain. Like they did such a great job with that.
I love that game.
It's good. So, Steve, you used some 40K terrain and brought it into AOS pretty well. We'll talk about that. I don't know. Do you have a picture of your new table we can share when we come to that section?
Sure. Let me find it.
You should find it, because I want to make sure we share with everybody. It was a great table and honors the long and happy tradition of the inventiveness of the rats. By the way, there's another option to get interesting new technology into the realms, like do an actual new rat release, right? That's a low hanging fruit. It's just like have a crazy Skaven release focused on some wacky technology. Yep. So, all right, which could be Skyer, by the way, or not. I don't care. I
think that's it, right?
That's it. That's all the news. A lot more to come in like 3 days. Or whatever.
Whenever I come on this show, it always feels like we do an hour's worth of news.
We kind of do. It varies.
To talk about.
It seems like it always happens.
It's what happens, man. The 45 minutes, it's fairly decent for a news segment. Sure. It's an hour and 10 easy. At any rate, let's talk about some pick of the week. So, Steve, what would you like to share, shout out, boost the signal on for everybody?
Yeah. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to say thank you, actually, to all of our volunteer playtesters out there. I won't mention any of them by name. They know who they are. I think that we as a community have really have a duty to say thank you to these individuals who invest a lot of their own personal time without any compensation, without any glory, and they take sometimes when new rules drop or our new edition of the AOS drops, a lot of heat is sent their way by the community, and I think that I think we should praise those individuals because they've delivered on a wonderful game that I have been absolutely in love with from day one, and I know that some of our volunteer playtesters weren't there in the beginning, but there are many of them out there now, and I think they do a tremendous job, and we should all, if you know any of them in the community, you should give them a big thanks the next time you see them, or give them a shout out on social media.
No, I think that's an excellent call out. There's a lot of the thing you mentioned that they're doing this on their free time, and these are people with lives, jobs, families, right? Like, and yet they dedicate a lot of hours and play a lot of games with this stuff to play test it and try to deliver the best game they can for us. And it's not easy, and you do suffer like some slings and arrows occasionally. So yeah, 100% agree. Yep. It's a tough road to hoe, but yep. I'm glad they're out there doing it. All right. Tommy, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, so I gave Jamie the Jasper last week a shout out for the list that he compiled of the Twitterati.
The Twitterati, yeah. Yep.
And so I actually want to spruik another thing that he's done. He put together a monthly digest of the finest Sigmar models, articles, and news from around the interwebs, and he gathered them all in kind of like one blog.
That's pretty cool.
Plastic, and so he basically grabbed all the best October stuff and just compiled all of it from Twitter, from personal blogs, from TGA, from the whole deal, and just he did. It's a really nice kind of like sum up of like some of the stuff from around the web in October.
I think that's really cool when individuals do stuff like that. They take all that time to do that for the community, so the community has a one-stop shop. That's phenomenal. Somebody would just sit down and do that.
Yep. So that's my vote.
Nice. I dig it. Rock on. Okay. So for my pick of the week, there's been a lot of really great hobby content that I've been checking out recently, but I want to give some people, or I want to give a shout out to really just a great painter who does amazing work and does so seemingly effortlessly, but communicates very well. And that's James Wapple, who I'm sure many people are familiar with. He recently put up quite a long video. Like, I've had some people come to me recently and ask me about painting busts. I know that's very different than painting gaming figures, but there's a lot of interest in it. And maybe people want it, you know, as a change of pace or a palette cleanser from their gaming figures. He put up a almost 4-hour video recently with his methods, especially focusing on OSL, which I know is something a lot of people have questions about, how to do OSL, even on their gaming miniatures. And this OSL is a major part of this. And so he has a big tutorial on how he did a really cool figure. It's the bust of like summoning a dragon, you know what, but in it, he does a huge amount of OSL. He walks people through it. It's just, he put it up on his regular YouTube channel. I'll link it down there. It's great if you're interested in bust painting. It's great if you're interested in object source lighting. It's great if you're interested in alternate painting methods and sort of techniques. He has a style all his own that is very relaxed, there is no mistake. He is, one of my personal hobby heroes. And so I would highly recommend you check it out. If you're looking for a lot of if you're looking for some long content to have on in the background during a long painting session, this is your pick. 4 hours of hobby goodness there for you. So there you go. I will drop that down in the description below, so you can find that after the show. All right, gentlemen, we turn now to hobby time. I already know what Tom's working on, which is going to be a funny answer. But Steve, what are you working on, man? You finished up your table, right? That's good to go.
Yeah, finished up the table for Holy Havoc, the new one that was credit. First of all, big thank you to Mini Stomp. I'll mention that later in the show. And if I forget, Tom, please remind me.
I will. Is he coming out to the event? I know he figured out a way to.
I don't think so. I think he might try and swing out for Holy Wars in Feb. I'm not sure if he's coming out for Havoc or not. If he is, wonderful. We'd love to see him. On my table, I'm back. I'm back at my hobby desk, and I'm sitting right now at my building station, and I'm working on the last of my daughters, throwing together one more 10-pack of Sisters of Slaughter. And then on my painting desk to my right, I have my Iron Jaws of the North, which is the project for next season. I'm hoping to debut them at Wapaka in January. So I have quite a bit of work to do on them, but I am not going, if I don't make it for Wapaka, then the Bitterroot, the Sylvaneth army, will make its way back to Wapaka again. So that's what's on my desk right now. So it's nice to be back hobbying and not building a table for an event. Although I did start planning another table last night, which is kind of
because you can't help yourself, and you have a problem.
It's a sickness. It's definitely a sickness.
Yeah. No, that's fine. How big is the Iron Jaws force you're working on? Just like, are you going straight to 2K? You going beyond that?
It's beyond that at the moment. I've only got, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 models done. The Mega Boss on Maw Crusher's done, and then 4 of my oh my gosh, I'm having a brain freeze on what they are. Our boys. I've got 30 of them to plow through, and then I've got my 5, 10, 15, 20 brutes, and then my piggies.
Gotcha.
I got about
If I can
12
give you
piggies.
any advice, it's definitely do the yard boys first, because if you save them till last, you won't do them. They're the worst.
I'm having a real. I'm glad I did the conversions. I used a lot of the Blood Bowl models, so at least it gives me some variety.
Yes.
But the actual Ard Boys from the Ard Boys kit, they're not fun.
Nope.
yeah. I'm trying to plow through that. I am facing a little bit of an uphill climb with it, but just before the show I started to play. I was slapping some paint on them just before the show.
Mixing in the 4 guys from the Shadespire crew is also good because they're really interesting, and they're basically just
I haven't done that yet. I have to admit, I should have. I probably should have. I probably should have done that. That probably would have made things a lot more fun. But there are some conversions in there that they all have wolf pelts on there.
Yeah.
So there's some variety there.
There you go. Shout out, by the way, to Long Island Wargaming, who joined the chat. It's been a hot minute, buddy. Good to see you back in. All right, Tom, what's on your desk, Tom? Understanding that we're going to a tournament where you are my partner this weekend with the Daughters of Cain Force. Mine, by the way, is packed up. Like, it's in the container ready to go.
And I'm driving.
So understanding all of that. Right.
And understanding I'm driving to your house tomorrow night.
Right. So understanding all of that background, what are you working on, Tom?
Painting my army. I mean, that's a little bit disingenuous, to be honest. I am painting endless spells. No, I like most of the models are done. The harpies, I need to put their blood spatters on their tile, but I finished those today. I have a couple models I need to put like the blood on the tiles, and then once that's done, like it's done. So I'm like an hour or 2 away from like all of my army models being done, and then I'm just filling in the rest of the points with endless spells. Like my list has a built-in like 100-point cushion. So
remember, those endless spells are not going to achieve you points. Remember?
Like, what do you mean?
For the Warlord.
Oh no, I know. Gravetide is still gonna choke, and Cogs is still gonna let me run my army across the board. So no, I'm good.
Okay.
All right, rock on. For myself, as I mentioned, my army's all packed up. I've got it all packed up tonight, actually, before the show, and made sure I had everything set aside that I wanted, and so on and so forth. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was just curious when you're getting in.
We're hoping as early as possible on Friday. That's the short answer.
Very cool.
Originally, I was gonna I'm having to go up to Columbus and get Vince for this trip. And so originally we were afraid that it was going to be late because I wasn't going to be able to leave till Friday morning. But it looks like I'll be able to head up to his place Thursday night, meaning we should have an early arrival on Friday.
Cool. I think I might be setting the hall up tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
just getting started. Sorry, Vince. I keep cutting.
No, you're fine, buddy. It's all good. I mean, for us, it's the challenge I have is that after when I leave for the tournament, I will be away from my hobby desk for a solid week because I have to leave immediately from Steve's wonderful tournament to go on a business trip for basically most of next week. I won't be back until Friday. So next week's show will also be on the road. It'll be a nice hotel
I'm
show.
driving Vince's army and board back to my house.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's like I'm just goes home with Tom. And so which makes me very sad because I'm in the middle of a project that I'm really, really enjoying that is still secret, and I'm still not going to share the actual project. But I will, since we're getting close, and I'm hoping that I appreciate that. I will share this. We gotta let a little bit out. So I'll share the base, the unpainted base, since that's the sort of the thing. Thomas mentioned that I like doing terrain for bases, or like using large terrain pieces for bases. Well, I agree, and shout out to Anthony, who is in the chat and who was nice enough to give me a piece of 3D printed terrain to use as my base. I talked to him about what I needed, and he got it together for me. So this is the base for the model.
Yeah, Anthony, how about a hookup, dude?
Yeah, it's time for Anthony to sponsor a table at Holy.
Whoa,
Yeah, what the hell,
whoa.
man?
Oh, geez, man.
Yo.
I wasn't trying to get the guy in trouble. He was very nice and said with this. So this is the base for a model.
Yep.
I'm not going to say what the model is, but
can you tell me what the size of that base is, Vince?
That's a good question. I mean, it's on the base itself is a 160, if that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm. That's what I want to know.
Okay,
that's like a Maw Crusher base, right?
It is a Maw Crusher base. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Is that is Ilariel on that base too?
Yeah, I think that's right. I'd have to go look. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And just for everybody's edification, this building is about a little over 10 inches tall. So there you go. I'll show it to you next. Here's the building. There's Deathmaster Snitch. So there you go.
What do you estimate the height of the total model will be when you're done?
Tall.
Will you be able to put it in any storage device?
Sure. I mean, yeah, they make shipping containers that go on like passenger ships in a storage container. Yeah, of course. I didn't say what size storage container, but sure, it'll go somewhere.
I know. I'm just obviously goading you. I know what the project is. It's so fantastic.
So we'll see. I'm excited about it. So thank you to Anthony for helping me out with this project. And I hate being away from my desk right now for a week in the middle of this project, but I'm hoping that basically by the time I get back and 2 shows from now, I will have this done. But we'll see. I'm not going to rush it. We'll see where we get.
As stated, Vince, somebody made a joke. I think it was about the that it being a 32 millimeter model, like the base is for Deathmaster Snitch.
Sure, that's like that Snitch is just like in the house hiding. Yeah.
Exactly. He just moves the house with him. That's really your next the next like step in the evolution of your project is on bases like that, doing entire dioramas as the base.
Well, I mean, that's like a thing I took to competitions as a diorama last year was just a model that I did. Like it was just, and that's the my Warp Gnaw Vermin Lord, right? Like I purposely built him as a diorama.
But like imagine
so that I could do
that house full of Skaven. Just chock full of rats.
That's not useful though. How does that work? It's got to be useful as the model.
No, but the model can still you like to put models on top of buildings or whatever. And all I'm saying is that like just go the rest of the way with the information and just load it up with rats or whatever.
Sure.
I'm not saying that his project is rats because I'm just saying that you showed rats next to the building, and so I want to, that would be an example of something you could do.
Could be. All right. So at any rate, more to come soon, but not for a little while because I won't be able to, after tomorrow, I won't be able to touch this project again until next Friday, which is going to be tier. I'm going to be very sad about that. All right. But at any rate, let's get to talking about the main segment. Let's talk about some Holy Havoc and team tournaments in general. There's been a lot of questions going around I've seen about team tournaments recently. A lot of people with interest in it. Between last weekend with the one at Worm World and this, I thought it was a great time to have Steve on and talk about Holy Havoc and talk about team tournaments in general and why he wanted to do it. So, Steve, why don't you set us up here? Okay. Talk to me about, what is Holy Havoc? Why Holy Havoc, right? Like, why do you do it? What do you see as the benefit? Seriously, I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. You've invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. I don't mean that lightly. It's there's a motivating factor here. And why did you decide to make it a team tournament?
Right. And it's evolved. Steve, I want you to talk about that too, about how it's changed over the years.
Right.
Sure. Well, in February we will be doing Holy Havoc 5. And
5.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Tom knows my events better than me. Yes, Holy Wars 5 is in February this year, and this is going to be Holy Havoc 3. So we launched our singles event first, and then I was looking to do Well, all right. So I guess the reason I started the event, in the interest of, full disclosure and honesty, I invested a lot of my own personal money and treasure in getting this Holy Wars off the ground. And it really, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. And so I needed a way to, and this was back during Warhammer Fantasy days. Okay. So one of the ideas was that I wanted to do the doubles event as a way to help to continue to, well, not only try to reimburse myself a little bit for the investment, because it was a huge investment, and I'm only at 30 players. So like a lot of TOs, when they'll do bigger tournaments and they have larger, they might have their expenses are covered because of the number of players that they have. I don't have that luxury with my event. My event's much smaller. Really, it started out as kind of a financial thing. North Star had ended. November was available. I always enjoyed team events more than singles events, first of all. So it seemed like a no-brainer. It was like, all right, well, maybe I'll run another event and try and do it as a team event and see what happens. And the first one, the first one we did was without points. If you remember, I think the two of you were there. It might have been your first. Actually, it was your first Holy event.
Absolutely, I remember.
Yeah. So we were kind of like forging new ground in a world where we didn't have points for this game, and we kind of had to make it up as we went along. We had some help from some people in the community. Like when we did our first event for Holy Wars, we used Mo Asher. Is that the right last name? Asher?
Mocomp.
Mocomp was our first one, and then when we did the team event, we kind of just winged it, and we did something that was really kind of just out there. And it turned out like the armies were like 6,000 points aside, maybe.
No. Most armies were 3,000 to 4,000 points.
Okay, most armies were 3,000 to 4,000 points.
Vince and I brought 6,800.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you win you guys win the award for most obnoxious army.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Sean had almost an identical army to us. Like it was
that's true.
When we played each other, it was like it was a completely balanced game because we both had like 7,000 points on the table.
It was in a 4-point, and it was a 4-point game. Like there was 4 points that you could win, and we went 1-1.
Right.
It was
1-1-0-0.
Well, yeah, 1-1-0-0. So it was literally like a dead standstill. It was fantastic.
So when the first I should go back. Anthony just Crazy Horse 1321 in the chat mentioned something to me, and he's right. One of the big reasons that I started all of the Holy events was for a charity that's close to my heart, and that's Hesed House. It's a homeless shelter, a local homeless shelter. And the parish I belong to, we cook meals there. And so what we have is we have to raise the funds to be able to cook the meals ourselves. And it's quite a challenge to do that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to feed the homeless and the needy. And so that's the main reason why we do the event. So to be able to do it twice a year, it's 2 opportunities. So then we keep being able to feed the homeless. So that ultimately is the main reason why I do these events, and I continue to do them because that's what it's all about now. It's not about me. It's not about the other Holy Hammers who are attached to the event. It's more about that and giving back to the community. And it's been an overwhelming experience to be able to do that. So thank you, Anthony, for reminding me of the main reason that I do these things. And so the team event, though, going back to Vince, to your original question, like why the team event and how's it evolved, as Tom asked. The team event was something that I always enjoyed playing. One of my first Adepticon events was a team event that I played with Jason Vargas, and we had a blast. It was a terrible, terrible gaming experience in terms of my rats and his Tomb Kings and our broken alliance in every single game, and we got our asses handed to us, just got our teeth kicked in every game, but we just laughed, and we just enjoyed each other's time, and we met some amazing people that weekend, and that's what I always wanted to do for my events. So when we did the singles event, and then I was looking to do another event, it made complete sense to do a team event. And the way it's evolved over the years, what's really evolved over the years, I think, and is us getting to know the community better. But really, ultimately, it's been the dialogue that I've had with the Warhammer Weekly guys, with you guys. You guys have become a part of the Holy Wars Council, which is a tremendous resource for us, for me. I'm able to bounce ideas off the two of you. We share ideas, and you guys have been generous with your time and your willingness to share ideas and to talk through things on a moment's notice if I'm playtesting. So really, that involvement more than anything else of bringing more players into the fold, especially guys who share our vision of what we want to do, has been tremendous. And I think, Tom, to answer your question, that's the biggest. I think that is quite an amazing story behind the Holy events and the way that the way things have evolved.
That's not what I was fishing for. I was looking for you to talk about the narrative development.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So what happened in Holy Wars 1? All right. Okay. I'm trying to be humble here. Anyway, so with Holy Wars 1, we just kind of did this team thing. And then eventually we developed this thing called the Warlord of Havoc. And he was there at Holy Wars 1, the Warlord of Havoc, and Vince was gutted that particular event because he was gutted. He didn't win the Warlord award, but the Warlord of Havoc, that's the main story. So the essence of the team event Holy Havoc really was to push the narrative further than what we had ever done in Holy Wars. Holy Wars was more about the tables. Each table has a unique scenario. Each table has its own story. Where the team event, it's more about your guy. It's more about your Warlord of Havoc, your conversion. You can win an award for best Warlord. It's his story. And he's evolved over the years. So in year 1, he was good. He wasn't too. I think he was tough, but he wasn't insane like he was in year 2. Year 2, he was just like he was better than Archeon in a lot. I mean,
Yeah, he got up there,
everything.
especially like game 4, game 5. He was a monster.
He definitely did. And then so one of the things that struck me was Chris Broska. I don't know if any of you guys remember him from Skull Bros Awesome and they had their podcast. I was hanging out. This was at Holy Wars 2, and we were talking. And I was asking him if he was having a good time, and it was on day 2, I think. Yeah, it was day 2 during the lunch break. And Chris is like, "Yeah, no, man, it's great. It's just, I came here to play with my toys." And I was kind of like, "Oh yeah." And I was ringing last year. I was playing as a ringer last year, and I noticed that. I noticed how powerful he was, and it was like that. It was like this. It all that mattered was the Warlord, and so he was too powerful. And so what we had to do was kind of dial him down a little bit, and I guess we'll get into that a little later. Mm-hmm. So the evolution of Holy Wars and how we continue to evolve it will be is always and always will be around your Warlord of Havoc. And I'm
it's been as you mentioned, it's evolved, and I think it is one of the events, if not the event, I enjoy most all year because it is such a different event. It leads into the next topic I want to touch on, which is just why team tourneys in general. I agree with you. I think team tourneys have a really unique play experience because if you win, you don't win alone. And if you lose, you don't lose alone.
Yep.
Right? Like there's something to be said for sharing that experience with somebody else, like with having a partner in crime, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether in victory or
great
defeat.
Job losing me these events.
Sure. And the reality is it is fun. Like it's just fun to get together to plan something out. Like these past 2 years, Tom and I have largely planned our army projects around how they're going to pair up at Holy Havoc.
Yeah,
right? That
my entire dwarf army kind of came out, and like my entire army like I knew it's what I wanted to do. And so when Vince was trying to figure out what he was going to do last year with his army project, like his Iron Jaws came out because I was like, hey, I'm doing a Dogs of War like import. And then we began brainstorming like what could a Dogs of War import look like for Vince.
Well, you guys started it, Tom, though. You guys got to go back 2 years. I mean, you came the first year, you guys were all in. And I didn't even really know you guys. I didn't even really know you guys then. I mean, you came in with your full narrative. Your narrative blew everything away. When I say narrative to your audience, I'm talking about like a book, like an actual army book. Every unit had some kind of narrative around it, and then you even brought booze for everybody to try. Your different concoctions of what were they called, Tom?
I did one for each of the dark gods.
Each of the dark gods.
Blood gods, and
yeah. So you kept trying to hit me up with shots. I took a couple, but eventually I had to say no. I had to stop. But anyway, so you guys bought in. You guys bought into that narrative right away from the beginning, and then you've always kind of planned an army around the event after your first one. After your first one, because Vince realized that you couldn't go cheaper and win an award at my event with square bases and stuff on it.
I appreciated.
So
forever to you've got to fail. Why do we fall down, Mr. Wayne?
Exactly.
Back up again.
Here, I want to point out that we took 3 second place awards.
Yes, it's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
But like it and what's interesting about building your army around this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is sort of an interesting experience that I'm not sure that's sort of a luxury Tom and I fell into accidentally. I think that like it can often be tough. One of the challenges I have, and maybe I'm alone in this, maybe I'm not, but I think I've heard other people evince a similar thought, is that when you think I want to start a new army. Like I like this thing. I like these Nighthaunt. I like these Iron Jaws. I like this, whatever. I don't care what it is. Any army.
Mm-hmm.
But people like to have some kind of theme to their army, right? Like you want to do something that you feel makes it yours. I think we all like to make armies that we feel are ours, right? I don't think that's weird.
Mm-mm.
And it cannot, like, you're often sort of paralyzed by the paradox of choice when you are staring down your project in the void, right? I mean, sometimes an army will just speak to you and, like an idea will click. Right, like we had Ben Sav on last week, and he talked about the Erstwood and how like he saw the daughters and he had the Sylvaneth, and it just like, boom, lightning strikes. It just happened. He had this idea, and that's great, but that doesn't happen all the time, right?
Right.
What's interesting about this is that because of the way Tom and I have gone about this, we've always had a partner to plan our narrative and our theme and our ideas with, right? And what's interesting is we will talk about it on the regular as to the story of how the forces work together.
Right.
How would we model that? How would we do that? And we've pitched each other, concepts for combined forces and stories, starting from that thing.
Hated Iron Jaws. Like he hated orcs.
Until he sold me that idea, and they became one of my favorite armies ever, right?
Right.
And so because you're not thinking about your army alone.
Right.
It's not a singular piece floating in a vast emptiness. It has this partner. It makes it so much more interesting how you can work off of somebody else and build that story together.
I also find that team events are a great way to motivate yourself to complete your army.
Sure. Yeah.
It's
you're going to let down somebody else. You have a spotter built in, right?
Yeah. It's a perfect way to do that. The other thing that the team event does that I've noticed in the team events that I've participated in is it also gains you some tactical insight that you may not have seen before. Yeah. I'm not as tactical a player as some other players out there, and I don't get so into the weeds as much with consuming every rule, and that's probably a mistake as a TO not to do more of that. But at the team events, many times, somebody that I might be paired up with might point something out that I would have never seen. Or even when we're playing in a game and we're playing, like I played in the Dragonfall team event, which was a great time. I had a blast. And in each game I learned something new by watching the other team and seeing how they were doing things. And I think that's one of the unique perspectives that you get from a team event. And they are by far my favorite event. It just so with our event with Holy Havoc, we wanted to kind of bring that through, and I've had the blessing of being able to play as a ringer in my event a couple times for the team event, and it's been fun because I get that continuous interaction with people. So I think that's a real plus side to the concept of going to a team event over singles.
Absolutely. And here's two other little things I want to quickly mention. A lot of people that, I've talked about the value, I think, of going to tournaments, because I really have had almost only positive experiences at tournaments. 99% of my experiences at tourneys have been overwhelmingly positive. I've met people that I now consider absolute friends, and I feel lucky to know and be able to talk to and try to share this hobby journey with. And I met them at tournaments. And I think tournaments can be intimidating to people. But a team tournament is much less intimidating because you're not alone, right? First off, you only need like 1,000 points in most cases, or some equivalent of that, right? You need half an army.
Yeah.
Talk about it like that, right? Whatever that boils down to. So it's, if you're just starting, if you're a new player, awesome. You don't have to try to like plow your way all the way up to 2K, which can often be a high bar for somebody just starting in the hobby. And you have somebody else there to help you. You're not standing at that table alone, like staring down somebody else of unknown level of experience, right?
Right.
You don't feel like you're completely just sort of like thrown in the deep end and like, hey, sink or swim, buddy. You've got somebody else there to get your back. So in all regards, I really would, I hope more people do more team tournaments. They're certainly like at Adepticon, there's a team tournament. At Nova, there's a team tournament. I would love to see more team tourneys happen. At
the risk of giving you an exclusive, what's your opinion if Holy Wars moved to a team format?
It's fine with me. I'd be there with bells on, my friend.
Can I push one farther?
Sure.
What if it wasn't? Well, I don't know. No, I'm not going to say that. Like, I'll ruminate later for possibilities. But yes, that would be amazing, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I've considered it. I've considered eliminating the singles event and going into 2 doubles events.
Well, and there's
tying them together.
And I'll just say.
Yes. Sorry. There's also a doubles event in LVO. I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry, Scott. Scott's in the chat, who's the TO for LVO. And I just haven't been to LVO because it's very hard for me to get to Vegas. But I know for an absolute fact, Scott runs an incredible event because I have never heard anything but overwhelming positivity about everything he's run. So yes, another big one. Sorry.
What I was going to say is that teams don't have to be just 2. Like you said, doubles, and like we're assuming that, but I know that there are some events across even the UK that are like 4-person formats,
right?
Where they can where it starts as like, there's flexibility in even how the team deploys, basically.
Sure, you have bigger teams and you sort of pair off and stuff like that. And
well, we've Tom, you and I have kicked that around a couple times. And as I look at the evolution of what I want to do with my events, that's been one thing that I've been ruminating on quite a bit. Is that idea, because I know that there's some dear friends of mine who just can't make it. They want to come to Holy Havoc, but because of the date, they just can't make it, and they prefer going to team events. And so my thought, if this particular Holy Havoc goes off really well, that might be something that I'd be looking at in 2020. So nice, because we already sold out for Holy Wars.
Sure. Well, you've got my look, Ben. You've got my money either way. Like, I'll tell you what. Like, you keep putting it on, I'll keep showing up, brother. Yep. Okay. Unless I'm in a coma or something, then
Sure.
If I get hit by a bus.
Hey,
I'll tell my wife if I'm in a coma to in perpetuity keep PayPaling you the money for the tournament. You can just give my ticket to somebody else. I mean, if I'm in a coma, I don't need the money, so whatever.
Sure.
I got you covered, man.
Thanks, man. You don't need to reach out to your wife. You can bring a little stand up of me and just kind of have it there with you.
All
right.
Cardboard Vince.
Exactly. I could be there in spirit. Okay.
Right.
All right. So we should talk, Steve, you mentioned your tables.
Yes.
We should talk about your tables, buddy. Have you got some photos of the new table? Because I think that will tell everybody. So one of the things that, and while you're bringing that up, I'll talk about it for a moment. Then you can, not to steal your thunder, but then you can go and discuss more. Is that Steve has done these incredible bespoke tables, each of which is you think of it like a realm in the mortal realms or something like that, and each has these incredibly detailed handmade scenery pieces on it that are part of an organic whole. So it's not, if you've been to many a tournament or maybe your own table, certainly what my table looks like is, you've got terrain. It's just some pieces of terrain and they're just kind of there because that's what you have. And so you kind of move it around. Steve's tables are very different. They are all custom built. And as I mentioned, like bespoke to tell an individual story. So let me lock onto you here, Steve, for everybody.
Sure.
So this is your overview. There's one of these you do for every one of them. And this is your brand new Skaven table.
This is the Clan Scryer in the realm of metal beneath the surface. This is the Clan Scryer lair. So this table, something unique for this year. Mini Stomp and I got together, and I talked to him about the concept of sponsorship. And so what he did was he was generous enough to supply me with the Sector Mechanicus terrain. And so now I'll be raffling off some previous Holy Wars terrain that I built in the raffle this year for the charity raffle. And so the idea that I always wanted to do kind of a clan-specific Skaven table. The previous Skaven table was more a rats and hats thing because it was designed in old Warhammer fantasy realm. It was kind of like if anybody knows about the 13 bells, Vince, you probably know about the 13,
oh, yes.
The clock or the bell ringing 13 times.
Yep.
So that was the concept. There was a clock bell tower, the swampy marshes, the blighted marshes, the whole thing. And it worked great for Warhammer Fantasy, but I wanted to do something different for the Age of Sigmar. And I always thought that Clan Scryer would have this kind of mechanical, more technology in the Age of Sigmar, especially after the Caradhran Overlords release. It just seemed to make more sense to me. And the Sector Mechanicus stuff really kind of drew me in. And so what you have here is the overview shot. And so everything's labeled here. At Holy Havoc, we provide table maps. So and then each one of these things have special rules. Now, I'm not going to go into all the rules, but what you can see here is starting here on the left, we have the cooling towers. We have, and then in the middle here, we have the core processor. And then on the very right, we have the crystal essence extractor. And all of these factor into the gameplay. There are objectives that are surrounding the terrain. The terrain has special rules. I want it to kind of be a surprise this year, so I'm not going to reveal those on the show. But let's just say there's a lot of damage to be caused on this table. So there's a lot of holy wounds being dished out. There are a lot of buffs that are kicking out. Each one of these huge plateaus that you see here are going to be kicking out buffs to units that are around them, that are within 6 inches of them. Not wholly within, just within 6. There is a ton of carnage that happens on this table, and it is wonderful. It is absolutely a blast of a time. The table is 2-tiered, so I've been kind of on this multi-level kind of kick lately.
Yeah, I mean, we have the ability in AOS to play on multiple levels, right? We can go vertical now.
Yep, and so there are battles that can take place here on the Gantries, and it's great. It was a lot of fun to design it. I have another shot I can show you that has some. Let me get in on that one there. Hang on a second while I look for the shot. More of a close up of some of the terrain, so you can see.
Love it.
Let me see if you're seeing it. Are you seeing it?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Hang on, let me get there. So what we have over here, you'll notice that what I did was I was able to sculpt up some bits, some Skaven markings here on the processors. We have just some tight shots here. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to build. There's warpstone all over. You can see some of the crystals down here in the bottom. There's warpstone crystals littered all over the table and all over the tabletop itself.
Nice.
So
The beauty of how did you like you used some oils on this, right, with your weathering?
I used oil washes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you tell? I don't know if you can tell or not, but
it's a great experience. I can tell with some of the stuff. Vallejo metal color plus oil washes have a distinct look that I know very well.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
That's when we built my board. Like that's what we used.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the shots of the new table so far. That's
nice.
That's all I have. I could dig deeper if you want, but I don't know if you have to.
Oh, you're good, man. It's fantastic. Like, really, I'm excited to see it. I'll public mea culpa here. Steve reached out to me and asked for some like extra Skaven symbols, those symbols you saw. And I said, yeah, sure, man, I'll get them to you. Like, no problem. So I wrote myself a note and then I went and dug out my bits. And somehow I have none of that bit. And I think I figured out what it is. You said it was like in the Clan Rat or the Pestilence box.
There's two. The big one's from the Screaming Bell kit. And then the small ones that are on top on the domes, those are from like the Plague Monks and the Clan Rats.
Yeah,
I can't remember which one it is.
Has ever bought.
No, right. That's what it was. Because all my Clan Rats, 150 Clan Rats, are just Island of Blood repurchases. Right. And you didn't get that particular bit. By some happenstance, the Island of Blood kit doesn't have that particular bit in it. And all my Pestilence Rats are the original metal rats from the 90s. Because that's the only metal Skaven I kept, because I really like the 90s metal Plague Monks more than I like the new ones. So plus I don't know. I think they have a good look. And also they were the first unit, as I've said before. The Plague Monks were the first unit I ever finished painting back in like 1998. Like the first time you ever finished a unit. So like I kind of keep them out of love.
I got a funny story for you. So I was waiting on those bits. I guess I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit.
You can throw me under the bus. It's okay.
So I was waiting.
It's my fault.
Waiting. I kept going to my mailbox. I'm like, what the hell? Vince hasn't set these things yet, and he said he was going to. It's not like him to, have a brain freeze. And so anyway, I reach out to Vince and then he tells me, hey, I don't have them. So I'm like, all right, what am I going to do?
By the way, I sent him that text of like, I'm sorry, man, I don't have them. And he didn't respond. And I was like, nope, great. Well, that's it. Steve hates me now. Like,
no. I didn't respond, really?
No, I sent that across and it was just like, I saw the like delivered in red pop up on my phone and then nothing. Not even like the three dots. I got nothing.
Sorry. Anyway,
I was thirsty. I was thirsty. I got nothing.
All right, sorry, man. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so then what happens is I come home one day and I get this. There's this like registered, mail thing slip. We missed you kind of thing, and it has on there Netherlands. And I'm like, what the hell did I order from the Netherlands? I'm like, I don't know what I ordered from the Netherlands. And I was like, trying to think it through. And it turns out I ordered blue stuff from Green Stuff World. I was expecting it to come from Spain, not from the Netherlands. Right. And so I waited. I didn't get to the post office. Like, it didn't dawn on me that that's what it was until I got my final notice that they were getting ready to ship it back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's got to be that stuff. So I run to the post office. I find it. It's the blue stuff. I'm like, I can make some molds. So I made molds of those bits using blue stuff. And if I ever decide to do a Twitch stream, or if I ever decide to do anything with my YouTube channel or whatever, I'll do something on that stuff, because it was fun to use that stuff and it works really, really well. And it worked great. And I just used green stuff for the molds. So, because all my resin went bad, my liquid stuff, my 2-part epoxy resins went bad. And what was great about using the green stuff on the table, I was able to bend it because of its flexibility. I mixed it so that it would be more flexible, and so I was able to bend it to the contour of the terrain. So it was great. It worked out perfect. Nice. And I didn't want to overdo it either. Like I really struggled. I have to admit, this table. I'll probably tell this tale like over and over and over again over the weekend. I really struggled about how much to Skaven it up. because I didn't want it to be over. I didn't want to go too far with it. I wanted to make it look like it made sense. That I wasn't trying to over exaggerate it just because it's 40K terrain. And I think I did a good enough job with the when you in the shots you didn't see it, but you'll see it at the event, and I'll take some pictures during the event. There are the plumes from the plague sensor is on the top, and there's warp smoke coming out in different areas. Each plateau has warp smoke coming out, and I think I did a nice job with it. It was a very stressful project because I felt like I really had to live up to Mini Stomp's generosity. So I pushed the painting on it. I probably spent way too much time, for a table and doing some of the techniques I did. But I'm very happy with it. I'm very satisfied with it. And if we do that again next year, with my plan is the Night Haunt table.
The Ghosty Boys are coming out.
I totally am prepared for what it's going to do for me mentally and how much of the hobby investment it's going to be, because I did not anticipate working on it for as long as I did.
Gotcha. So rather than blow by blow the scenarios, I thought we would talk about the scenarios from the point of view of the Warlord, because one of the you mentioned the Warlord earlier, and this one of the interesting principles to this. You mentioned that it focuses around the Warlord. So for everybody else who's uninitiated, this is a thing I think more tournaments could adopt, because this is a really cool system. So the way Holy Havoc works is each army gets a Warlord. It's not a model you pay points for. So you have your 1,000-point army, and then you have your Warlord. And Steve, you set some rules for like what the Warlord can be on base wise and stuff like that. But effectively you say, go for it. Right.
Yep.
And, the Warlord is this year a sort of build your own Warlord. Like, they're a hero, right? And they're a fairly adept hero. They're not just like your standard 5-wound hero, but they're not even starting out. They're not like,
well, Vince, let's back up. Let's take one step back. Like last year he was too much of a beat stick. And when we got together, what I wanted to do was to have him evolve like your character would in, like, if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, you earn. And that was the concept behind what we developed here.
Yep. Exactly right. So the Warlord starts out, even from, much like you build your character in a role-playing game, like the Warlord starts out as a, he's a good hero. He's pretty solid as stats go. Not anything amazing, but he's, decent. Like, if I were to put points on him, I think his starting cost would be, I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
140.
I was going to say 180, but okay, sure. Like, in that range, right? Whatever, somewhere there.
Because he is still 5-wound hero.
6?
Yeah, he's 6-wound hero.
Yeah.
So like 160, 180.
Sure. So, and he, and then basically you build your own, right? That is to say, there's a sort of list of abilities, and the Warlord has some set abilities himself that he does. But
we should point out, Vince, that he inherits the keywords. That's critical too. Like, there's been a lot of questions around the Warlord, and sometimes I think that maybe prevents people from going, because they don't understand that the Warlord's going to inherit those keywords. So, like, if you wanted your Warlord to be a Slan, he can be a Slan.
Right. The real key is you, like, if you, so in my case, my Warlord is a Medusa, right? A Melusai, whatever you want to say, for the daughters. And so you pick another hero that isn't a special character, and you inherit the keywords of that special character, right? So Order, Daughters of Cain, Melusai, blah, 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 right?
Right.
So from a keyword perspective, they can operate exactly like, whatever you need them to be.
And so the answer is that, like, well, what keywords does it have? And the answer is, well, what is it?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
And so, like mine is a hag. So that's what it is.
Right. And our experienced players now, they understand, and they're just running with it, which has been great this year.
Yep. So you really build your own Warlord, because you decide what it is. You decide what the model is based on your army. Then you pick your, some other hero. So you choose your keywords, and then you get to choose a couple abilities. And so you kind of build your warlord from scratch, like you're making a D&D character, into what you want. So you can make it into a melee character. You can make it into a ranged character. You can make it into a spellcaster. You can make it into a priest, right? And so on and so forth.
It's awesome.
And then over the course of the 5 games, the warlord has anybody who's played an MMO is going to be roughly familiar with this concept. But the warlord has a sort of evolving skill tree of types, right? Now, it's not like, it's not a hard skill tree. What I mean by that is if you think of like old school WoW, when they added the skill tree where you could, like, I think this was Cataclysm or whatever, many games had this in there. I don't want to get hung up on the particular MMO, but where it was like, it isn't like points in here, then open up these 2, and then points in here opens up these 3. It's not like it doesn't cascade down like that where you're locked into a path. It's a different set of abilities, and then there are like 1s and 2s. Like there are gates, but they're minimal gates. Like there's sort of there's a minimal melee offensive ability.
Right.
They're all linear gates, and so
well, there's prerequisites too, though. So like if you want to go from Warlord of Clarity 2, you have to have Warlord of Clarity 1. You can't just jump over. But
exactly.
Being Warlord of Clarity 1 does not prevent you from also becoming a Warlord High Priest.
Right.
So you can do that. So it's really quite fun.
It's a little more choose your own adventure. Yes.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You decide what it's going to be. And like effectively the way it is you can pick the one that's like minor offense and then lean in and go major offense with one of your upgrades. You can pick the one that's minor defense and lean in and go major defense and so on. That's the best way to think about it. And then there's also a set of gated abilities that are based on, really, I would call them role-playing rewards.
Yeah, the unlockables.
Yeah. The unlockables that happen if your warlord like achieves the warlord objective in so many games, kills enemy warlords, dies, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
all of these things that you can get. Right.
Yeah.
So your actual experience with the warlord then opens up new possibilities. And so the tournament, in every scenario, in every game, games 1 through 5, there's a specific objective that the warlord is trying to accomplish. Like there's actually, that's worth points towards your total score. And so the warlord has a story of what he's on about over these 5 missions. And he grows as a character in both his capabilities, but also in his like narrative as he evolves throughout the course of the game. So it's just a really cool idea. And the reality is, I think the warlord for me is always a special project. It's an excuse to do
a wild conversion.
Different. Yeah. To do a wild conversion, to do something unique. And it's really, really fun, right? Because you have this perspective that you experience the tournament through. That's really what it is, right? In the same way an RPG is, your character is your focal point. This gives your army a focal point character. Right. And it absolutely shapes the way you think about your army. I mean, the easy example for me of this from last year is my Iron Jaws warlord was an Iron Jaws mega boss, right? Mm-hmm. Who had been raised by humans during like the dark ages of chaos. So like he was a lone orc raised by humans. So he was actually like quite intelligent and cunning and had learned how to survive amongst like the worst situations when chaos ruled, and like was by orcish standards incredibly well educated and intelligent, right? And had and it flavored the way I thought about the army. It had to do with like the battalions I chose and the tactics I used and the way I thought about everything, because when he got control of his orcish horde, he did so through cunning, not through just brute strength. Like, yes, he was a big, strong dude, but he was also very cunning. And so like everything about that is how I thought about the game and played the game and everything like that. Right.
It's the epitome of narrative gaming.
Yes.
It's like what Eric did. Eric, back when Holy Havoc 1, after we released the rules for the warlord, his warlord actually visually upgraded You know, so like he was in between games, he was painting new bits to put on his warlord as he racked up kills. He got taller because it was the pile of skulls. He really embraced that. And then like the concept, it's interesting you should bring that up, Vince, because we've been talking about how to, like for Holy Wars, for example, narrative participation points, you know, like how you play the game around your warlord style, like who your warlord is, playing the game that way. Figuring out a way to that's the next thing, right? How to figure out for our events how we can like say, okay, you know, what did you do during the game that what was that signature moment for your warlord that like drives that narrative of that character? Kind of, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I absolutely.
I have the perfect system for that too. Like you just mentioning that, Steve. Like I've already figured out how that implements.
All right. Well, we'll be talking.
And my signature moment for my warlord, I already know it from last time. It was when I tricked that frog and then sneakily made a long ball charge up over a rock that the frog thought he was safe and hiding behind, and then spiked that stupid frog like a football. It was one of the greatest moments of the entire tournament for me. That was it was the mega boss, but still, it was the same model.
Mine was when I suicided to deny. It was the it was Warpstone Crystal objective, and I suicided my warlord so that Christian couldn't get the objective, and I deliberately did it, and I was awesome because I took this Vermin Lord and I ran. Well, he was my warlord. But ran him across some Holy Wars deadly terrain and rolled that one, which is what I was hoping for, and he died. Christian just looks across the table like, "You're the ringer. What the hell?"
It's awesome.
Hey,
That's
dude.
Rats flee, man. Sometimes that means into death.
Great.
Steve, there's a lot of call for the warlord rules. A lot of people are mentioning it in the comments. So I assume that where do you want to is there a place people can go to find that?
We'll put those out once the event's over with. So we'll put it out.
What I'll do is I'll drop Steve's Twitter as well as the Holy Wars Twitter down below.
We'll put it on the
site. I'm sure you'll publish it there. Yes.
Yeah, we'll publish it. We'll publish it on the site. That's one thing. That is one request that the community has asked for. They've really, the UK guys, for example, you mentioned Raw earlier in the show. They back before they even started Raw, we were like exchanging ideas and stuff. And then I've sent the pack overseas quite a few times. So one of the things that we haven't done here domestically is actually put it out there on the site. We should. And so we'll do that this year. That's one of our plans, actually.
Okay. So I will list that down below. So that way you can, when Steve publishes it after the event this weekend, everybody can go grab those rules. Because I think they are a really, like, I love how the Warlord has evolved. I like I mean, as somebody who still and has played in a weekly D&D game for, going on 20 years, I certainly have a favor for that sort of thing, and the chance to integrate that into the game, but still be playing an army and still have that represented. It's unbelievably rewarding and cool. And it really is just like a stupid fun chance to play with a model. Like every year I get excited and think for months about what my warlord is. And I know both Tom and I have done something that we both really love as our warlords this year.
It's so funny. Like when this came up, like I went out and bought 2 different models from lines I would never have built. Right. And I got them and then began to like look at the bits and try to figure out like what I could build. And I ended up getting rid of the Eidolon, which is the one of them that I purchased. Because I was like, nope, that's not the one. This other one is. And so I've went through all the stuff trying to get all the conversion stuff just right. And so it's like one of my favorite parts of this event.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been some of the conversions have been absolutely awesome.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's great to see what people come up with. I've seen a couple people sharing them on Twitter so far already in advance of the event, and I'm excited to see them in person. So that leads us then to the future, my friend, of the Holy Havoc event. We've talked a little bit around this, but as we close up here toward the end of the show, what do you hope to have happen as you continue to build this event continue to evolve the narrative? Like what's your goals in your mind of going from here?
Well, going from here, we're going all in next year on the narrative experience. We're going to really push the narrative. The other thing we're going to be looking to do is to link the event with Raw next year in some manner. So if the calendar works out the same, it should, and I assume it will, we are going to look for a way to have them be back-to-back weekends again, obviously, like it was this time, but somehow try and tie our narratives together. What the guys over there, I met a bunch of them, and I met Mitzi and Jimbo, and it was so bizarre to be there at Adepticon, and they knew who I was, and they're like, Steve, you inspired us to do Raw, and Ming had reached out to me a while ago, like when he started the first event, and he wanted to figure out a way to link it. And at that time, I really had no clue. We were still trying to find our footing with doing a team event and with doing our event. I really wasn't 100% sure how this thing would evolve. So that's one of the big goals next year, is to try to link that. And even bigger, and it's starting this year, is we are linking Holy Havoc with Holy Wars. So one of the things we're going to do at Holy Wars, if your warlord was at Holy Havoc, your warlord has secured territory for you. So you're going to have the option at Holy Wars to choose your table for round 1. So you'll get that chance. So because there are times where some players have been to our events and they haven't been able to play on a certain table, or they've played on they might play on a table many, many times. And so this is going to give them a reward. It's like your warlord has claimed territory and has planted their flag, and you're going to have this opportunity. And so what we'll do is we'll do a roll off. Well, if we obviously we'll have players, multiple players who've been to Havoc, and so we'll roll off and determine a random order, or do a random player draw. We're also going to have we're also taking the narrative one step further this year at Havoc. You, the players, are going to be determining your matchups and what tables you play on. We're not going to be doing that. So what's going to happen is we have I took my my Mighty Empires board, and I've designated 2 hexagons for each that represent each table. We'll be drawing out your army name, and we created tokens for each army. There'll be a random draw in the order. That'll be the draw, and you'll go up and you'll choose your table or your matchup. And so players are going to have a real opportunity to scope out the rules, try to gain a tactical advantage. It's not just going to be kind of a random. It's going to be maybe random in terms of the order, but you're going to have an opportunity to determine who you play against or what table you play on. So I know you two are planning on trying to play on the Temple of Cain table the whole weekend.
What?
Yeah. Anybody else that's going to be there, I'm letting you know. The Daughters of Cain are claiming the Temple of Cain, and if y'all want to come to their territory, blood will be spilled.
That's
yeah,
right.
for sure. One of the great things too about this event, which is actually a first time, Vince, and it does dovetail into what you were saying earlier, and I know we're getting long on time. We're gonna have 2 tables. We're gonna have 14 tables there at Havoc this year. Usually I limit it to only 10 tables. We're gonna have 14 and 2 tables for each realm. Realmscape has been predetermined. It's in the players pack. And each table, we're even going to have Realm of Beasts, and I am providing models for you to use in the Realm of Beasts. The 2 tables that are representing in the Realm of Beasts are going to be the Sotek table, and then the I renamed everything and I don't have them memorized yet. The old Ragnarok table is in the Realm of Beasts as well. So
the wicked mushroom table.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good time, that's for sure. And I like playing on that beast table is fun, but no, we have to serve our god.
Yeah,
blood has to be spilled. Marathi must be fed. No longer. For too long has she been denied. So there you go.
So can I give you guys one more thing?
Sure, man.
So last night, I'm playtesting a Holy Wars scenario for the Scryer table,
Mhm.
and I'm playing Doc with gray plastic, of course.
Yep.
Because sometimes that's what I do. And I put this out on Twitter. My youngest, Ethan.
This is the best story.
Yeah. So we're playing this game, and he goes in there and he's like pulling some dead models. He's pulling some dead plague bearers off the table, and his plague bearer kind of hooked onto the sister's,
Sure,
snake
her
lady,
stabby spear,
stabby spear. And I said, hey, yo, respect the model. And he's like, he goes, I'll respect them when they're painted. I was like, oh, I'm like, all right, stop. I'm going to tweet this right now because that's tweet worthy. So I put that out there. But anyway, so we're play testing. So that was one great moment. But here's the better moment. All right. So this battle's going back and forth. Okay. He had a mixed chaos list with Archeon and a whole bunch of heroes. And my daughters are doing it. So we go to round 5 and we're tied. I've got him on the Grail, right? I'm beating him on Grail objective. There's no way he can catch me. I'm like up like 16-5. There's just no way he can get there. But he's got main table objective.
Okay.
And so the main table objective is to he claimed it, okay? But the way this scenario worked out was that at Holy Wars, you earn a point for deployed units left alive.
Right.
At the end, right? So the main objective, now this is Holy Wars, not Havoc. So the main processor on that table in battle round 4, if you control it on a 4-up, you can shut it down. If you don't, at the end of battle round 5, so when the game's over, it blows up.
Sure.
Every unit on the board suffers D6 holy wounds. Now, for those of you who don't know, holy wounds are unsavable.
They're super mortals. There's no way to avoid them.
Super mortals. No way to happen. So Ethan, go ahead and roll. So basically, when it came down, that was our tiebreaker, and I had him by 1. Okay, in deployed units left alive. Okay, so I was winning on that. So we roll. I roll for my units first. Every unit blew up. Dead.
Oh,
Not a single daughter left on the table, dude. It was a D6. I rolled six, like I had my cauldron still. I had my 2 hags. I had a whole bunch of Canary. But I was rolling 6s. I couldn't stop rolling 6s.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Everything just blew up. It was gone. It was just gone off the table. And it was so epic. And I was just like, yeah, we're doing this. This is cool. This is totally cool. It just blew everything up because he rolled with it. He's like, look, I can't beat you. So what I'm going to do is try to beat you on this. I'm not shutting it down. And then, but I'll tell you, man, those daughters, they chewed through his he had like a 30 block of warriors. And I got through it, killed them all. And he's just like, well, that's the first time I think I took all of them off, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, well, hey, that's what Doc does.
Welcome to daughters. We worship murder.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're pretty good at it.
Oh yeah. So it was a good game.
Yeah,
and
everybody else is just a dabbler in murder. We're like professionals.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was great. It was good.
That's nice.
I had to tell that story.
I love it. That I can think of no better way to end the episode than with a giant explosion killing all the daughters of Cain. There were many out there in the community that might celebrate that at this moment, but at any rate, I can't wait for this weekend. It's going to be a great time. So, Steve, as always, buddy, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of days.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I was very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
As always. But for all of you out there, we thank you very much for watching. Like I said, follow Steve down on Twitter. Everything will be down below in the description. So when he shares out those rules and those packs, everything will be there so you can see. You should also just follow it because Steve regularly tweets lots and lots of photos of the tables and the armies in mid-play. Like he is full court press during the game. So if you want to see the action following that, the Holy Wars and Steve's Twitter, an amazing way to do it. You get to see everything as it's going down. So check that out. During this weekend, you'll be able to see the whole thing. But as always, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.